Hello and welcome to the latest in the podcast for the Centre for Education Action Research run by the Al-Futtaim Education Foundation. I'm absolutely delighted today to be joined by Gemma Donovan from Southview School. So Gemma, thank you for being here first of all. But if you could just introduce yourself, explain a little bit about your context, what you do and how it is we're coming to discuss CEAR's work.
Okay, well, firstly, thank you for having me today, Simon. It's a pleasure to be with you. As you said, my name is Gemma Donovan. I'm currently head of EAL at Southview School. I've been here for the past 18 months. And last year, I was involved with the Action Research Network through the University of Birmingham. And this year, our school is now part of the School Alliance with CEAR. And we are this year we've embarked on our journey as a school group within the CEAR Action Research Group.
Excellent, thank you for that. I mean, the mere fact that you said you were involved in the academic research network with the University of Birmingham shows that you've got an interest in this. And actually, I remember our conversations, because just to give some people some context, as people might know, CEAR is now in its second year, and we had a small group of about half a dozen schools last year. We're now running at 15 schools this year. And you and I spoke about this at the Academic Research Network conference, I think it was in May last year, and about the possibility of Southview joining. Let's go back a step, both personally, but also as in for your own context, but also on a school basis. Why do you value academic research?
Well, I think personally, the reason why I'd embarked on it last year through the University of Birmingham was because having been tasked with setting up the department, I could see that there was a lot of scope on the ground for new things to be implemented and great scope to look into action research based on that. So that was my own interest in the field, really, into getting into that. And also I have my master's myself, so I've always been a keen researcher, shall we say. And there was a lot of fertile ground to work with. I think it's fundamental within the school setting that people take ownership of their own professional development, and action research is a fantastic way of doing that.
Yeah, I personally, the other way of looking at it is I'm sure that we've both been in teaching long enough to have experienced that time where you're sitting in professional development experience, whether it's a lecture or whatever, and just think this has no relevance to me whatsoever. What the hell am I doing here? The advantage of being involved in action research is because you design it yourself, by definition, it has to be something that you're interested in, something that you're looking to solve, which makes it personalized by definition. And that's something that we're aiming to achieve. What was your project last year with the ARN?
I worked closely with the science department on the secondary. I'm at whole school, so EYFS through to secondary. I worked with the secondary department on evaluating the impact of front-loading vocabulary in secondary science classes. We have a big EAL demographic, and I think I was keen to collaborate with one department in order to then bring that to group PD sessions to say, look, this is what the work that we can do. These are the results that we've had. This is the action research I've undertaken, and hopefully then it would dissipate across the whole of the school, which is the effect that it's had actually.
Yeah, and I think that's in itself a really interesting topic area, but demonstrates the pertinence of this action research and why it's important, because you and I both know that both schools are in Dubai, and we know that in the last probably 22 months, the number of EAL students has rocketed. So yes. We've got staff that are dealing with contexts that they've never had to deal with before. They've certainly, I'm confident, weren't trained in. Now, we can either ignore that and just pretend it isn't happening, or we can collaborate, put together structures where we can actually establish what the best practice is, how we can, and learn from each other. And that's such a nice example, because I had a conversation this morning with someone about the way in which leadership and school context change on a continual basis. I always think it's amusing that we write 1 year improvement plans. Normally by about this time in the year, that plan has gone out the window because things have changed so much. But teaching is changing, teaching is evolving, and it doesn't evolve with a manual that says this is how you do the next bit. We as a profession have to find out the answers to that, and that's a fabulous example of how you've been working on that to improve EAL provision. But then if we take that, you've rightly said that you've shared that across your school, but in some ways that discovery is limited to the fence of your school itself, the boundaries of your school. What CEAR is trying to do is to use that expertise on a wider basis to help children, and it really is as simple as that. So why did you decide that moving into CEAR was the next step for Southview?
Well, to be honest, I'd spoken to colleagues about my experience with action research. There had been a lot of interest. We knew of CEAR. We knew of the great work that it had been doing, that you have been doing, and that CEAR does. And it's a perfect opportunity to be part of something that is quite progressive within the region, I would say, to come together and collaborate in this way with other colleagues about all different types of teaching and learn aspects of teaching and learning is really very motivating for staff, I believe. And in fact, we have 12 teachers who've signed up across primary and secondary, which is a fantastic cohort for a first launch, I think.
It really is,
for action research.
Yeah.
And it shows the dedication of staff as well, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I've been really pleased about, because I think we can look at the theoretical benefits of this and say the wider good, teachers using their experience, their research to improve teaching and learning. But I've been absolutely delighted with the extent, and I say, you know, when I'm introducing the staff, the F word, it's fun, and they really do enjoy it, which is, I think, a perversity of the teaching profession, because we're saying, here's more work that you don't have to do. And yet, because I think teaching is such a vocational profession, and we work in schools with such high standards and such high caliber staff, they do want to get better. They do want to make sure that the impact that they're making is as powerful as possible. And this is a way to enable that. I'm so pleased that over 90% of the people that took part in a CEAR project last year are doing it again this year, which is a testament in itself. So tell me some of the topic areas that your 12 researchers are looking at this year.
Well, we've got across primary and secondary, as I say, inquiry-based learning within the secondary maths classroom is one area that we'll be looking at. Child-led learning across year one, but looking at it not on the impact on children, we know that's positive, but on the impact it has on staff well-being and teacher workload, which is an interesting angle, I thought.
Yeah.
Also looking at a fantastic project that's taking place in the year 5 classroom is looking at flexible seating. I know it's quite a hot subject that people feel very strongly against one way or the other. However, what the teacher has in mind is really fantastic, and we're looking forward to seeing how that takes shape in the new year. That will be during term 2, that the classroom will be changed around completely in order to fit the needs of the diverse students that we have within that classroom. So that'll be really interesting to measure the impact of. And already letters have gone out to parents to involve them in that as well. So it's also widening and allowing parents to understand what's taking place in the school as well. So which is always just for the benefit of the students, as you say. Life skills is another one. Well-being obviously is key to all of us across the education sector. So we'll be looking into mindfulness interventions and the impact that has on year 7 students. Myself, we've introduced the Young Interpreter Scheme here, which again is student wellbeing, is pastoral. It's a scheme that's for students, for our EAL students who are new to English when they arrive. And it'll be, it's a formalised buddy system. So measuring the impact of that as well on a student leadership and also on our ELL students in their first weeks of their experience here at the school, their first months here. So a real wide scope of subjects, and very, very motivating for all of us involved, and looking forward to them presenting and getting that momentum moving even bigger and more so, at the end of the project.
And that's a lovely description, and thank you for that. And I think what's really nice about it, several things. Firstly, is it shows real adventurous spirit from your staff. Is that they're not looking at something we already know the answers to. There's been a number of changes in education in the last few years, and we could, I suppose, confirm it. But they're actually, even in year 1, going out there and testing things and the flexible seating, obviously a lot on wellbeing. But the other thing is, I defy any school leader watching this to tell me that not one, if not all of them, have some relevance to their school as well, because and that's the thing, is that we're all doing the same thing in different places, and even if they're not exactly a Southview, they may not be in Dubai, they may it may be in a different language, there will be things that other schools can gain from the work that your staff is doing. What's interesting as well from my perspective is, yes, there is some overlap with what the Dear International School staff are doing, but it's only slight, because they're going off in other directions that they find interesting. I mean, we've got quite a number that are looking at coaching, because that's very pertinent to our school. We've got some that are looking at AI and the way in which AI can be integrated both within the classroom, but also in administration at the schools. We've got some people that are looking at one person that's looking at really, and I'm really interested in this, is looking at what happens if you don't force students to wear shoes in lessons. And to which the answer is, we don't know, but let's find out. Yeah. And it might be awful. I'm not sure I'd have the confidence to do that, but that's one of our more experienced researchers. So, but I think the great thing about this is at the end of this process, I'm going to know what your staff found out. Your staff will find out what my staff found out, and everyone benefits from it. Have you had much feedback in terms of their enjoyment, whether they're enjoying it? How are they balancing it in terms of their work? Because teaching is an exhausting at the best of times.
It is, Simon, but in all honesty, fantastic collaboration between all of us, and really brought the primary, and as you know, in a through school, sometimes there is the primary is primary and secondary is secondary. It's brought the team together as well, so there's like nice cohesion between the group. Attending the in-person CEAR events has been fantastic, because for the younger teachers as well to get out within Dubai, they may not attend conferences and do things of that ilk, but to be able to go to CEAR and sit with fellow teachers from different schools and discuss best practice and have ideas like that, I know has been very beneficial, and they all feel very enthused by it, I would say. I would also say that a lot of this practice is happening already, and that was really something, as in my role as coordinator, that I want, and my experience from last year, that I wanted to say, and I said in the promotion and trying to gather people into the project at the start, was it's not as arduous as you would think. It's actually stuff that's happening already, great practice that's happening in your class, or an innovative idea that you've now got the free rein to run with. So it benefits everybody, really. And then, as we said earlier, then you would hope the culmination would be then reporting back to your own staff and then enthusing them to get involved as well. So, I mean, it's a win-win.
Yeah, and just so anyone not involved in CEAR who might be watching this is aware, we bring as many as can manage it of the CEAR researchers together, and it's not complicated. First of all, we make sure that they have some food, because it's normally at the end of the day, but just put everyone with similar topic areas together so they can talk about what they're learning, and therefore you will have all the people looking at ELL together, you'll have those doing AI, leadership, etc. And there's no kind of requirement you've got to talk about this, but as you saw in that last event, which was I think a couple of weeks ago, people were tired. It was the kind of thing that I always worry is going to be a drag for people, but actually it was really energizing, because they, at the end it was like, really guys, come on, you need to go home now, because this is their passion and this is what they want, and all we're doing actually is facilitating those conversations to happen, to allow that passion to feed out. And actually I think people left that meeting, I could be naive, but I think they left that meeting more energized than they arrived on what was a tricky Thursday and a tiring Thursday in November. So yeah,
that was definitely something that was mentioned by a member of our staff, that, oh gosh, I was so tired in coming, a year one teacher, you can imagine, tired at the end of the day, as we all are, and said those exact words, I'm so glad I came, because I feel really, energized after that and positive. So that's great. All you can ask, I think. Yeah.
And one last reflection from me, sitting as a school leader as we are, it makes teachers talk about teaching, and that's not without us sort of putting a metaphorical gun to their heads. It's those water cooler discussions, it's the staff room discussions, and I don't think for a moment that all of them are, nor should they be, but they're talking about their practice. And I think if you can get in a school culture, those conversations happening spontaneously, then you can't be in a bad place. You can't be in a bad place.
I couldn't agree more.
Gemma, that's been absolutely fantastic. Really interesting to hear, both from a CEAR member, but school that's new this year. And it's so nice to hear the impact it's already making. And we're really excited to see how those projects develop over time. So please thank your staff on our behalf. I hope they have a fantastic winter break as it's on the horizon. And thank you ever so much for your time today.
Likewise, Simon, thank you, and happy holidays to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.